Hey, everybody. Welcome to My EdTech Life. Thank you, each and every single one of you that is joining us this Wednesday evening, midweek, guys. Guess what? Friday is almost here. So it's definitely something to get excited about. And today, of course, we've got a wonderful guest. We've got a great topic that we're going to be discussing today. And first of all, I just again want to thank each and every single one of our viewers for joining us and for supporting our show. Thank you, everybody, for making My EdTech Life what it is today. And as it continues to grow, we're definitely trying our best to continue to grow and bring you some amazing shows. And I just want to go ahead and start by introducing our guest today. Now, Ismael, I met him approximately about 2 years ago, or a little bit over 2 years ago, when I had first started wanting to get into podcasting. But of course, that was a failed endeavor. Maybe the timing wasn't right. But I got to meet him at a local coffee shop while I was interviewing one of the owners there. And I saw this guy with a camera, and he's doing all these fancy shots and doing all this stuff. And all of the while I'm interviewing the owner here at one of the local coffee shops, which is the coffee shop I always stop at before I go to work. And so I ended up just connecting with him. And, while had gone by, hadn't really reached out to him till recently, but I'm really excited that he agreed to be on the show today. And if you like our intro, he is the man. This is the man that created that intro. He is a local creator, Ismael Martinez. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for
Uh,
having me. This has literally been over 2 years in the making, right?
Yes, over 2 years in the making. We met there at Reserva Coffee Shop, Reserva
Yeah, yeah.
Coffee Roasters in Mission, and you were there shooting, some promos for them. And I was there interviewing Danny, the owner,
Yeah, yeah.
for
I
my
remember.
first podcast called Caffeinated Tech that didn't really take off. I didn't even make it to show number 3 or 4. And I guess it was maybe just the timing wasn't right. But like you said earlier, it's like everything came full circle where we ended up connecting again through this project. And I can't tell you enough how the compliments that I've gotten on the intros and
Very
everything.
cool.
So thank
Very
you so
cool.
much for what you do. So today, guys, we're going to be talking, just about content creation, the process, but and it's really not necessarily getting technical. It's really just hearing Ismael's story, because he definitely has a wonderful story. And I'll be popping in some links into the chat so you know how to go ahead and connect with him. And then that'll be great. So do us a favor, wherever it is that you're watching us from, tell us where you're from, where you're watching, and maybe drop in your Twitter handle or anything at all. And we'd love to hear any questions or any comments that you may have. So, Ismael, let's go ahead and talk about this process. And the first thing that I was talking to you about is when I went to your channel, which I'll pop in right now into the link. The first video that I saw was the one where you quit your job.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's one that got a bunch of views. So
yeah.
tell us a little bit about the backstory of Life Through Lens, your what you do.
For sure. Well, I'm a photographer, videographer, full time, right? And I've been doing it for a while. This actually started when we first found out we were having a baby. When our first kid was on the way, I told my wife, "Well, we got to get a camera. We got to document this. We got to take pictures of our kid, right?" So that's how I first picked up a camera, and from there just started rolling. Like um, family and friends would ask me to take pictures of them, and I mean, at the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, "Let's do it, right?" And it just started evolving where people actually wanted to pay me to do like their quinceañeras or events, and it just became a way for me to make that extra cash, right? So, and the whole time I had a 9 to 5 job in retail, so I was working at a music store while doing photography, videography on the side. And like a lot of people, I felt trapped in my 9 to 5. I loved music. I was a musician before anything else. I was a guitar player, singer, songwriter. I thought that was gonna be what I was gonna do, right? Um, but eventually those dreams kind of faded and I kind of felt lost. What am I gonna do? Yeah, I'm making some extra cash with this camera, but it just wasn't, I didn't see it as an option, as a career I could pursue, right? Until I just started getting more clientele and basically it was competing with my 9 to 5. I had to turn down gigs because I had my 9 to 5. So I told my wife, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not even making that much money in this job. If I just concentrate on doing photography and videography, I could make that and potentially more, right? So I credit my wife because she's always been supportive. Like immediately she's like, well, then quit your job, right? And I was like, whoa, like you mean let's save for a few months and then quit my, she's like, just quit next week. So I put in my 2 weeks, man, the following week. And the only reason I waited is because my boss was on vacation, so I had to wait. Um, but I had very little money saved up. I had maybe like 1 or 2 gigs lined up. So I put in my 2 weeks, and this is funny because on my last day, I remember getting in my car, taking a deep breath. I clocked out, I took a deep breath, and I was like, this is happening, man. Like, this is it, right? Dude, I checked my phone and I had a message from Reserva Coffee Roasters. And they were hiring me for my first official job. And so when I met you, that was my first gig as self-employed, you know? So that was pretty cool. I was super happy. When I got that message, I felt like, okay, it's gonna be okay, you know? But yeah, that was crazy. I remember I was doing some video work for them, and I saw you there with Danny, and you introduced yourself, and I think we exchanged information that day, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I think I
actually,
started following you.
yeah, I got your number and everything that day because I was like, yeah, maybe someday. And actually, it was to get you to be on that podcast,
Yeah,
Caffeinated Tech,
yeah, I
because I
remember.
kind of wanted to roll with that. But
Hmm.
then, circumstances change and then I just never followed up. But look at that, like almost a little bit over 2 years now.
Yeah,
And I met you at your first official gig there at
yeah,
Reserva. And now I then finally I connected with you. We worked on the intros and then now you're on the podcast now on the actual
yeah, yeah.
podcast now. So I mean it's what timing, and that's just been amazing. And and throughout this time, Ismael, it's just been great to see you grow, as far as being a content creator. And for someone like myself who is in education and have been in education for over 15 years, content creation isn't something that really just came to mind. It
Hmm.
was just, and really not even knowing what it is, but it's just a matter of just putting yourself out there. And I think, the way that you do things and the way that you've done things and been successful is really just putting yourself out there and showing people what it is that you're doing
100%.
from that reserva, shoot. I saw you just like all of a sudden hey, look, follow us. You follow you on your Facebook page, your YouTube page, and then see you work with other local businesses.
Hmm.
You're doing music videos. You're doing
Hmm.
all sorts of things, and I'm like, wow, like this is amazing. And to be honest with you, it's something that's very quite inspirational for myself, who maybe is not at that level but of content creation, but it's still it's like you're exercising your creative muscles. And I think when
100%.
exactly, and I think that when I get to see you and what you're doing, then I'm like, hey, you know what, like I'm just going to continue doing this. I mean, it's
Hmm.
just it is what it is. So
Keep pushing.
exactly. And so tell us a little bit more there. So then that was your first official,
Hmm.
job as a videographer and doing all that thing. And so then life through lens, that takes off. And then so tell us what it all that you started doing after that.
Well, by that point, I had already been vlogging, I think, for like a year or maybe a little bit over. But basically, what I was doing with the vlog, I was exercising my creative skills, trying to like get better with my camera. That's what the vlog was really about. I had this camera. I was like, well, how do I get better? So the vlog was kind of like an excuse, right? So by the time I leave work, I was already pretty decent with my camera work. So I was able to book video gigs. So what I started doing is I started contacting local coffee shops. I mean, both coffee lovers, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I started just filming segments with coffee shops. It was called caffeine sessions. And I would interview business owners and try some coffee, get some cool shots of them making the coffee, you know what I mean? Trying to do something cool. And at the same time, kind of show the RGV, all these different coffee shops we have, right? And it did get a little following. People started responding, people started liking it. And I was like, well, not everybody drinks coffee, but everybody eats food. So it eventually evolved into the same thing, but with restaurants. And then that's where Fork It came about. So Fork It is basically a segment I film where I feature food, but that's kind of like the hook. What I'm really trying to do is connect you with the business owner. You know what I mean? I'm trying to tell stories, and if you watch one of the Fork It episodes, it starts with food because that's how I want to kind of lure people. But then it starts with the story of the business owner, whoever owns the restaurant. And I've
Nice.
been having a lot of fun with those videos, man. I'm already going on over 2 years, also filming that series. Yeah.
Hey, let's welcome Shannon to the show. Shannon, she definitely is a coffee lover. Shannon, thank you for joining us. She is
Yay.
part of the Three Caffeinated Coaches. So please make sure that you check out their podcast as well. So thank you so much, Shannon, for joining us. And yes, we all love stories, and Ismael definitely has great story. And so, Ismael, let me tell you something. I really, what you said there just really resonated with me because what you're trying to do is what I love with the Fork It episodes is something that you said is you're trying to connect the people with the owners. You're not just there, and I've seen your episodes, which are amazing. So I'm gonna put that link in
Thank you.
there so that everybody can watch you on your YouTube channel. But what I loved is there's a whole story behind it. I mean, yeah, you lure them in with the food, you give the nice reviews, you check everything out, but I think like one of the episodes that really caught my attention, I think it was it Guadalajara Express or
Express.
something like that, that
Yep.
restaurant. But the way that you interviewed and the owner spoke, and I thought that was like, I want to go and support that business,
Yeah.
because everybody has a story. I mean, a lot of people may think like, their local mom and pop shops, their local restaurants, but they all have a story. Those people are passionate about what they do. They
Hmm.
they they have a passion for the food. They want to make people happy through their stomachs, which a lot of them do succeed. If you see my stomach, they do
Yeah.
succeed. But I love that you said that it's the power of connecting. You're not there to just hey, here's a plug and come check out this restaurant, but you take the time to interview and really dive deep and get the owners,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what I'm doing with you here. And I
Yeah.
think that that's very powerful because everybody has a story, like Shannon says. Stories definitely are powerful, and each one of us has one,
Yep.
and it's something that we can all learn from. So I think that's something that is amazing that you do. So
Thank you.
tell us
Thank
a
you.
little bit more. Tell us a little bit more about that. As far as you know, are there certain types of restaurant, or has it gotten to the point now where people start calling you like, "Hey, come check us out," or are you kind of very picky as far as where you go and you do the shoots and things of that sort?
Um, so this is the process about like how I go about like choosing a place, right? I mean, being a creative, I work, 100% off vibes, man. Like inspiration, you know what I mean? So,
Yes.
I follow certain hashtags, I follow certain groups on Facebook, and I'll look through there, come across a business or a restaurant, and it's just whatever I'm feeling, dude, to be honest. Like if the food looks inspirational, I try to learn more about who they are. I mean, as much as I can, right? And see what people are saying. If people are loving it, okay, this seems like a story people might want to hear, right? And and I try to meet the owners beforehand and kind of get a feel for who they are. Do like a pre-interview, and like I said, it's off vibes 100%, and everything just flows from there. Um, One of the places I did, or one of the videos that I'm most proud of is a video I did with Teddy's Barbecue a while back. I remember calling him, and he was super down for it, the business owner. And I asked him like, "Hey man, well, at what time do you start?" He's like, "Well, I think he said something like 4:30 or 5 in the morning. He starts the fire." I was like, "Oh man, I'll be there." I was like, "I'll be there." So I was like, I think it's important to get the interview while he's getting the fire ready at 5 in the morning, and really get the feel for the hard work and the passion and the sacrifice, that goes into a business like that. And it turned out to be a great video. People really responded to it, and when people really connect to the story, man, oh, that's that's a victory right there. Like that's what I want, the response of people actually connecting and feeling what the
Yeah.
owner's trying to portray.
That's awesome. I mean, and it's true. I saw that video, and really, I was really inspired because the story that he has, I'm like, wow, and it all led down to him doing something that he's most passionate about. And I think that that's what a lot of your videos convey, that the people that you interview, the owners that are there, and a lot of them are the ones that are doing all the work, is the passion that they really have for their craft.
Hmm.
So let's see here. I've got Shannon here who has a question. Ismael, like, so as a creative, she's asking, what is your process when maybe you aren't feeling the inspiration? Like, what do you do? Or is there
That does
something that
happen.
you go through?
Yeah, that every now and then, right? We hit a brick wall. Coffee helps a lot. Coffee is Coffee is a big part of my process, man. I have to be caffeinated when before a shoot and when I'm about to edit. But it does happen where you're just not feeling it, and you just learn to find inspiration in different things. For example, when I'm putting a video together, we'll do the shoot. The shoot might take 3 4 hours. But then I'm back home with my computer, and I try to find inspiration through music. You know, Music is a big part of my creative process of videos that I put together. Everything flows through the music. So sometimes it takes 2 3 hours to find the right song, the right music that I think is gonna fit the story. But it's just learning to find inspiration through different things, whether it's the building, whether it's the food, the story, the music. You just try to pick your spots when it's not really working for you. But it does happen a lot, to be
There
honest,
you
at this
go.
point.
So how about storyboarding? Shannon is asking, do you use any kind of storyboarding, like,
I
kind of?
As far as the Forked series, I did at the beginning, but now I really have my format. As far as storyboarding goes, I would do that when it comes to like a music video, or if I'm shooting a commercial. And it's nothing crazy, like super elaborate, like when they're doing like Hollywood movies and stuff. Like I just try to frame, okay, here I'm gonna use certain lens, here I want this shot, here I need this, I need that. And sometimes you don't get a chance to do it, but when you do, oh my God, it makes everything so much easier. You just gotta make the time to do something like that.
Yeah, there we go, and all that planning. So let's
Hmm.
go back to Shannon. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us and really just
Thank you,
asking some
Shannon.
questions. So it says here, when was the point when you realized this is what you were meant to do? As cliche
Oh
as it
wow.
sounds. Oh wow. And wow, like, I don't know. I think, like, Shannon, you definitely need to check out that video too, because seriously, that video gave me the feels when I saw his video where he transitioned. He just said, today I quit my job. I was like, whoa, like it was cool. But tell us a little bit more about that, Ismael. Like that point when you said,
It's
hey. This is it.
It's crazy because now that I look back at it, there was always cameras at home. Maybe not nothing fancy, but we always had a camcorder. I always had access to a camera. When I was a senior, um, I joined yearbook club, but that was mostly to get out of class and take pictures, just so I could get out of class. But I never thought of it as something I could pursue, right? Again, because I was pursuing music, I thought that's what I was gonna do. But when I was in retail, in that old job, the last job I had, there was a band that I knew. They would go in and buy equipment, and they were getting ready to shoot a music video. They wanted to shoot a music video, and they knew I did photography. They had seen some of the videos I did, and so they asked me, "Hey, man, how much would you charge to shoot us a music video?" I had zero experience shooting music videos, right? But I was like, I could do it, right? Like, you just sync your video to the music, right? I do it for my vlog all the time. So I was like, man, they wanted to shoot it in Mexico, right across the
Mm.
border, right? So it was like a 30-minute drive from where I live. So I was like, man, I just threw a number out there, and without hesitation, they're like, all right, let's do it. Can you shoot in a month? And I was like, whoa. That right there was a powerful moment, man, because one, I was super scared, right? Because I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to go over there and shoot this video. I'm gonna have to take my equipment. But at the same time, I was like, man, there's people out there like that revalue my work. You know what I mean? They're putting their trust in me. Like, I feel, I feel good enough to do something like that, and it just kind of it planted a seed, right? Because this was maybe 8 months before I quit my job. But that was the beginning. I was like, this could really be something, you know? Like, if this catches on and I shoot 2 or 3 clients per month, I mean, this is something I could really it's life-changing money for me in the situation I was in.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of it all. That was the beginning of the end of retail right there, man. I had been doing retail for so long. I was, to be honest, I felt lost. I felt trapped. I felt like desperate to find something to put my energy into, because I always had drive. I always had energy. I just didn't know where to focus it. And since I had discovered photography, I was always hesitant. People would tell me like, "Well, maybe you can quit your job and do that full time." I was like, "No, how am I gonna do this full time? How am I gonna support a family with a camera, right?" But slowly it just started trickling down and snowballing, and here I am, man. Here
Nice.
I am.
So here we've got Mel A. She's joining us from Colombia. She's a great friend of the show. And she says, Yeesh, Fons, sorry, is Ishmael is the amazing dude Stein that made your intro vids, right? I was like, yep, that's him. That, right here. That's him. He's the one that
Saludos
created.
para
Yeah.
Colombia.
There you go. Oh, she's from Australia, dude, but she lives in
Oh, okay,
Colombia.
okay,
So
okay.
yeah. So she's great. She's a fan of the show. Now, Shannon, let's
Very
come back
cool.
to Shannon again. Shannon just had a question here. It's like, as far as a creation platform, so you go out, you do your thing, is there maybe specific platform or platforms that you use, for your content creation when you're getting down to doing your editing and so on?
I use Adobe Premiere. Like, that's what I use all the time. I dabbled a little bit with Lightroom, not Lightroom, I'm sorry, with Final Cut. At the beginning of the pandemic, they made it free for like 90 days. I was like, ooh, this is my time to check it out, right? So I did edit a few videos, but I was just so used to, I mean, too, I already have my processes where I have a certain speed with Premiere that I couldn't achieve when when trying to edit on Final Cut. So I tried it, but I just went back to Premiere. That's probably all I'll stick. Yeah,
Nice.
Adobe for life.
Yeah, there you go. The
Same
Adobe
here.
Live. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Awesome, awesome. So now let's go back to what you said. Okay, now you're doing this transition, and maybe I don't know, maybe I may be going in too deep, but you tell me. But what was that process when you told your wife like, hey, like this is it, like this is gonna be it. I'm gonna move into this, and this is the way that we're gonna do this. So how did that go? What was the overall
I had
reaction?
been thinking about it for a couple of months. I think it's maybe like around January, February. I was already deciding like my next move because I mean, I'm not going to say where I used to work, but the company I was working for was a failing company. And there had been rumors of downsizing. So I was like, it's a matter of time till it's me, right? So I was like, I got to plan what I'm going to do. And so they had cut almost everybody's hours. So I wasn't even making that much money anyway. And my overhead was pretty low. So because of life, I was in a really good spot to take a risk. So I basically saw it as an opportunity. You know what I mean? I found opportunity in my miserable situation, and yeah, it took a couple of months of finding a way to present this to my wife, right? And a way she could understand and really support me. And I mean, it didn't even take her like 2 seconds to say like, do it, go for it, quit, right? Put your 2 weeks in, because she knew how I was feeling. She knew I'd been miserable for a while, because again, I felt like I was going nowhere in life, you know. I had always been trying to pursue music, but that quickly died once I started having kids. I was like, okay, that's not something that I want to do, right? But I credit my wife a lot because had she not supported me, I'd probably still be there selling guitars.
Yeah. Well, that's great, that you have that support and everything, and that's amazing, man, because again, look at what you've been able to do with, in this time that even I've gotten to know you and follow you, and the work that you do. And I mean, even just the your thought process, like being in the doing those two shoots with you, and just the way that you were like, yeah, let's do this, let's do that. And I mean, it's like you already had like everything in your head, kind of like an idea of what to do. And I was just like, dude, like I'm blown away, like the
Exactly.
turnaround and everything. And so just to let people know, I mean, Ismael, again, if you're just joining us on the show, those of you that are either rewatching or listening, Ismael right here, he's local content creator out of the Far area, Far, Texas. All
Mhm.
right. So that's not too far from me here in Edinburgh, Texas. So just wanted to give him a shout out, and a shout out to the Rio Grande Valley, because I mean, you're definitely seeing some wonderful creators that are here, such as Ismael. I don't know if I would put myself there as a creator, but I mean, I'm creating content through
You're a
this
creator, man.
podcast,
You are a
and
creator.
telling people's stories, and hearing people's stories, and like you said, kind of like what you do with the restaurant owners, I get to do with people like you that inspire me and inspire many through here because of the work that you do. So that's really amazing. And so now you did the vlogging, to kind of honing your skills.
Mhm.
You started doing the fork it episodes, and then of course now I've seen you do some advertisements, or sort of like little for promos and things of
Yep.
that sort, and especially my promos and so on. Now I know you mentioned earlier, it's like there were some people that kind of like, hey man, like this video isn't about food. Like, it's like kind of like they kind of typecast you sort of as, oh,
Yeah.
that's the food guy. So like, what do you say to that? Like, do you feel like, man, like I'm so much more than the food guy? Or hey, that's cool, they recognize me as a food guy, but I do other things, like, or is it just like, I just let the site speak for itself? What are your thoughts on that? As far as maybe possibly being put into a box saying, "Oh no, like he's just the food guy."
I mean, it's cool. I mean, I really appreciate all the people that support the videos that I do. Here in the RGV, we're more Facebook based, than YouTube or any other platform. So I upload a lot to basically almost every video I make goes to both Facebook and
Mm.
YouTube. But my biggest audience is on Facebook. So every now and then people do recognize me. Every now and then people do come up to me and they say they like what I'm doing. They like the show and it feels great, man. It feels
Yeah.
great. And it's not at all why I'm doing it. I just do it because I love it. And but it's cool to get recognition because I mean that means that people are watching, people are connecting, right? Um, but there's so much other stuff that I want to do, right? So it can get a little frustrating because it's almost like I kind of built this machine and I kind of got to feed it, you know what I mean? But little by little, like I am trying to introduce different content. Trying to bring up the vlog a little bit more. I started with the caffeine sessions featuring coffee shops. I kind of want to bring that back again, be a little more educational with coffee, and maybe a few other like RGV staples that we have here in the valley that I want to feature. So not just food. So little by little, I kind of want to
Yeah.
introduce that to people.
And I think that's great, man, because honestly, there is definitely a lot of wonderful places here in the Rio Grande Valley. And the what I've seen from you is that you highlight some of these places, and you do such a wonderful job that after I watch a video or people watch a video, it's like they kind of feel like, hey, yeah, like I'm part of that, or could be part of it's almost like a family, like, hey, I'm here. Ismael shared this with us, and I feel like I'm part of it too. And just the way that you do the story process of it, and like we were talking about, like Teddy's too, man. When I saw Teddy's, that video that you did, I was like, the story that he had, like it's so
Yeah,
captivating, and making those connections. And I think, like you said, going back to what we stated earlier, we're seeing through what you do and what I'm trying to do here through the show, the amazing power of that connection, building that that network of creators. Like I'm so thankful that I was able to get you on the show so people can get to know who
yeah,
you are as well. And then we build that network of creators, but then we also showcase some of, like you do, the restaurants that are here and the local I guess the local, well, yeah, like restaurants and ambiance that we have here. You capture it so well, and here I'm capturing some of the local creative talent that is here. So it's kind of neat just to kind of see the parallel in that,
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
we're doing that. So
And
that's really
see
neat.
the one of the goals is to, I mean, for lack of a better word, like kind of like beautify the RGV a little bit more and show people our home through a different lens. You know what I mean? We don't have to wait till the Food Network comes down here and does a feature on us. Like, just pick up a camera and let's do it ourselves. You know what I mean? And show people and their restaurants in a way they've never seen themselves before. You know what I mean? And that's one of the goals to make people see, because back when I was younger, like people would always complain, myself included, like, oh man, like we gotta, if we want to do something, we gotta leave the valley. If we want to do something fun, we gotta leave the valley because nothing cool ever happens here. But that's not the case anymore. We have so much going on here, and it's grown so much. We have so many cool businesses, cool restaurants, cool coffee shops. We have breweries. We have all this stuff that back in the day you had to go to San Antonio. You had to
Mhm.
make a 6 hour drive to get something like that. But now we have it here. So that was a big inspiration also for starting Fork It, because home
Nice.
is getting more interesting.
Yeah, of course, I agree with you. And shout out to Abid. Thank you so much, Abid, for joining us. Abid's joining us from the UK. All right, he's my, so give my boy a nice shout out.
Shout out to Avid. Thanks for joining us, man.
There you go. Yeah, they're 6 hours ahead, so I'm sure it's already way
Oh
past
wow.
his bedtime.
Oh
But
wow.
thank thank you so much for joining, Abid. Abid was actually a guest 2 shows ago and everything, so it's always great to just see the family, coming back. Because I always tell people, hey man, once you're on the show, you become part of my learning family, my family, and
For
so
sure.
I think that this is great because you're making those connections, and we see Mel, Shannon, we see Abbott, and so many others that are going to be listening and watching this. But coming back to what you're saying, I mean, even myself growing up, 18, 17, it's like, yeah, you're right. To see stuff like what we're seeing now, it's like, yeah, go up to San Antonio, going up to Austin, seeing all that fancy stuff over there. But little by little, the valley has definitely been transforming, and we're seeing just some great local, eateries that are opening up. We're seeing local coffee shops, like you said, businesses. I mean, downtown McAllen. So the people, a lot of the people that saw the intros, and then the second intro when they saw the graffiti wall and everything, they're like, that was really nice way of showcasing some of the local,
Hmm.
flair that we have here. Because oftentimes, like you said, we had to go away to see something like
Yeah.
that, but not anymore. And so that's great that, and that was one of my purpose. The purpose of maybe shooting there downtown too was I want people to know like where I'm from. I want them to know, get a little background, I guess, feel of where I grew up. Of course, it didn't look like that growing up, but now it does. But this is my home. This is where I've always been. This is what I've always known. This is where I've always grown up. In the Rio Grande Valley, and it's just great to be able to showcase that, even with something so simple as an intro that is being played, all over the world. The people that get to watch the show again, and then tonight, the special night that the creator of those intros is here with us and sharing his story, and making those connections. And I think that that's something great. Let's talk a little bit more about the concept or the name Life Through Lens, because I'm curious too, and that's one of the questions I wanted to ask.
Hmm.
Life Through Lens, how did that name come about?
I went through a couple of names. I mean, at first it was just Ismael Martinez photography, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't know, I don't like the way it sounds. I mean, first of all, I don't even like my name. I told my wife, how can you could have named me like something else? Why Ismael? I don't like my name. But um, I didn't like the ring to it, so I just started just writing down stuff. When I was working at that man, when I was working at the retail job, I would even do some of my edits there, man. I would do a lot of my business stuff while I was there at my retail job. And I remember writing down different names on a notebook, and life through lens just kind of stuck because I mean I'm doing at that point I was doing my vlog, so I was like, well, I'm basically showing you my life through my lens, right? So that's really where it came from, life through lens.
Nice. And it makes sense. And I think, like you said, it has a nicer ring to it than
Yeah,
Ismael Martinez photography. It's like, oh,
yeah,
life
yeah,
through lens. So
yeah.
that's awesome. Um, and so that's one of the questions that I want to ask, just the inspiration there behind the name. But also what has been up to this day, maybe, and that way we don't make a lot of people, maybe they may feel bad or something like that, but maybe top 5 episodes that you've done, or videos that you've
Yeah.
created. What has been some of the ones
They're
where
all
you're
my
like, man,
babies.
yeah,
One of them was one of the most recent ones was the one with Le Pho. It's a Vietnamese restaurant in Westlake, Texas. That one is a very special one because when the pandemic had just hit home, we were going through the shutdown. Um, this family they basically lost all their jobs, right? Like the whole family lost their jobs. The mom had a nail spa that closed down, so they basically started selling um, food from their house, right? They were selling pho, rice, and all these um, delicious dishes, right? And they reached out to me and they're like, hey, can you try this and just give us a shout out, right? On Instagram or whatever. So I tried it. I was blown away. I was like, okay, this is a great family. It's a great story. They have great energy and great food. Like they're gonna blow up, right? and I was like, I want to be there when this happens. So I called the daughter. I was like, hey, like when you guys get your brick and mortar, like I'm gonna be there. Like we're gonna shoot an episode. We're gonna do more than just a little shout out, but we're gonna do something. And sure enough, man, a few months passed by. They got their own restaurant. We filmed that episode. I really liked the way the story came about, and people really, really, really connected with it. It got probably the best reaction out of any, not the most views, but the best reaction, which is really what I care about the most. People really, really connected. So I think right now that's number one, man. And Teddy's, of course,
Yeah.
is another one. There's another restaurant called Nana's Taqueria. That one in Wesco as well, man.
Yeah.
All those three are in Wesco, man.
Yeah, dude,
Not
Mid Valley, dude, they've got some
Yeah,
great
dude,
food, man.
it's popping. But Nana's Taqueria, that really made me feel at home from the beginning. So I really love that one. And Tigo's barbecue, man. Every time I'm with those guys, it's always a good time. And man, what would be the last one? I would have to say Guadalajara Express
Yeah,
is
that one
is the
was a
other one.
really good
And
one.
this isn't maybe no particular order, but I really love that one too as well.
That's awesome, man. And so, like I said, I really appreciate what you do, and showcasing, like you said, the local eateries and just the talent. Like, and I love, like you said, the feel that you go and check out the place. You get a feel for the owners. You get a feel your vibe, and I mean that's just wonderful inspiration for you, man. Like, I mean, because everything that you've done and you've put out, I can't honestly say that I've seen a video where you don't seem that you're 100% into it, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
and there's no, sometimes you'll see people that'll do other creators that might do some videos, and then you kind of see a difference. I don't know, maybe they could be having a bad day or something like that. It
Mhm.
happens, but I have not seen, and I was going through videos, the last couple of days, and you're always the same. Like, there's this, you really radiate this joy and in what
I
you're doing,
appreciate
because I can see the passion that you have for what you do, for your craft. I mean, and I think you're absolutely right. And one of the things that you said, that I know that you're not in it for the views. Like, yeah, that's great, but I think it's the reaction, what you're trying to
it. Mhm.
convey to the viewer. And speaking honestly and frankly, what from what I'm seeing is that passion does radiate and it
Yep,
does translate through that screen. And I'm like, dude, this guy's genuine, this guy's sincere, this guy works his butt off, and this guy is definitely talented.
appreciate it.
And so you just continue doing what you're doing, because you definitely, like Shannon says, you really make it so personal. And I love that. And hopefully today, even today, people that are watching our show that are local here from the RGV, reach out to you or check out your videos and make those connections with you, because I think that working with you for these two shoots was something that was awesome, because like I said, number one, it's like you already had it played out. You already kind of knew what everything was going to look like even before I did. And then I just made like two suggest, because I was like, I really want that graffiti wall, like I really wanted that
Yeah,
stereo. And you're like, cool. So we got that, and then it was, I think, just one more shot, and you like worked it in there. And I think that that's great, man, because sometimes you don't know what to expect from people. Like, you see their work, and then you meet them in person, and you trust the talent that they have. But then it's like, hey, can we do something, maybe this, and you're like, sure, man, let's try it out, and hold on, let me get this angle, and let me change that, and you know what, let's take this up a notch on that same thing,
yeah.
and that idea. And I think that that's something that is really awesome, that you allow the people that you're working with, just that creativity to really say, hey, can we try this? And you're like, sure, let's go ahead and try it out. What's the worst that can happen? So I think that that's
Sure.
one thing that I really love, man, that you're so personable and you really care about what you're doing 100%, man. So that's awesome, man. Just that
Thank you,
passion.
thank you. And just to add a little bit to what you said before, it's definitely as far as Fork It goes. which is, I mean, anybody who logged in late, Fork is a personal project. It's a passion project, to be honest. A lot of people don't know this, but I don't make money off of Forkit out of featuring these businesses. Like, it's not like they're paying me to go feature them, right? Every now and then a business will help me out, but it's not something I require, right? So definitely I do it out of passion because I love to, and that's advice I would give to anybody trying to create content, right? Like, do it because you love it, because if you're doing it for the views or because you're trying to get famous, like, oh man, you're not gonna make it, because passion, because there's gonna be ups and downs, and there's gonna be some really like low downs, and that's where passion carries you through, man. Like, because you're doing it because you love it, right? So when I'm doing some of these shoots, like I've had to walk out of I walked out of one shoot one time because I wasn't feeling it, we had agreed on how we were going to shoot something, but then the owner didn't even make it out to the shoot. And I was like, well, how am I going to get an interview? She was like, well, interview the manager. I was like, but like, I want people to get to know you know what I mean? And just the vibe, other things happened. The vibe was totally off. So I just called her and I was like, we have to reshoot another day, right? Because I don't want to be faking a smile. I don't want to be
Yeah.
like, this is really good, guys. You know what I mean? And that's another reason why I try not to take money from people, because then it's a job. Then I
Mm.
have to like the food. You know what I mean? I have to like really try to sell it to you, and that's not what it's about. So
Oh
that's
man,
that's how it works.
that is awesome, dude. Like seriously, like what you just said there, it really resonates because that's the reason that I started doing what I'm doing, just because it's a passion of mine, just to connect with people and get to hear their stories, because I learn from them, and some of the things that you're saying, and the process, and the way that life through lens was what came about, and the work that you're doing is definitely something that is inspirational to myself, and I hope that anybody that's rewatching the show or listening to this later also gets inspired, because there's many people out there that may be scared to put themselves out there,
Hmm.
and it isn't until they get to meet somebody like you, that right now is just, you can really tell that you do what you do for the love of the craft, and because that's what you're passionate about. And I had several shows ago, Al Thomas, and I think it was after, since that episode, from there on it was just kind of like, you know there's always going to be somebody watching and waiting for you to do that one thing. And those were his words. And he's quoting somebody there. I can't remember who he's quoting, but everybody's watching for you to do that one thing that can inspire them, or that can change their direction or their path in life for something positive. And I think what you're doing is something that's great, man. And I'm really glad that you're
Appreciate it.
here, you're local talent, you're here from the RGV, you're representing the Rio Grande Valley, the 956 area code here, and the work that you're doing for here, the Mid Valley, and anywhere that you're doing. It's been amazing, and it's been
Thank you.
great to see you grow. And now, those of you that weren't here at the very beginning, maybe it's like everything's gonna come full circle, from like 2.5 years ago, when you were supposed to be a guest on my failed first podcast that I did, to now. It's just been great that we're able to share our passion with people, and I think
For
that's
sure.
something that's powerful, man. So I've been dropping in your links, throughout the show, and giving them getting people to connect on your Instagram, your Facebook,
Appreciate
your
it.
Twitter, your YouTube. Is there any other place or any other way that they can connect with you, or would those be the best ways to connect with you, through social media?
Yeah, that's where I'm most active. Basically Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Yeah, I try to post daily as much as I can, but yeah, that's where I'm most active for sure.
Nice. So
100%.
let me ask you something before we wrap up our show for today. Any, I guess, maybe, I know you kind of shared a little bit of advice, but
Hmm.
maybe some other things that you like to share for maybe some people that are out there that are a little
For sure.
hesitant, or maybe a little scared to take that first step in as far as becoming a creator.
For sure, for sure. What on your Instagram, you said a really interesting quote. Your what was it? Your worth is
Oh, your network is your net
your
worth.
net worth. That's 100% true, man. Like networking has worked wonders for me. I mean, first of all, I tell people be a genuinely kind person, be a good person. That alone is going to take you a long way, right? Another thing is network, network, network. Before I even quit my job, like I was already going out to music shows, to events, outdoor events, to festivals, just anywhere I could go and take my camera, take pictures, and meet people. A lot of times you walk around with a camera, somebody's bound to like just talk to you and ask you about what you're doing. And I just started doing events and meeting people, and I would do videos. I wasn't even charging. I was there just trying to get people to notice what I was doing, right? I make a video out of this event, put it out on Facebook. People would notice. People would start sharing my stuff, and then eventually they'd start calling me to do work for them. So there's a really good ally that I've made in this organization called Mujer RGV, which is a organization that supports female artists, female creatives. I do all their video work and photography when they do events, and because of that, I get a lot of work just from there because I get to meet all these kinds of cool people. So it's networking, 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 100%.
Nice. Hey, well, there you go, man. It just so happened to work out really well because I did an IG live today from no other place than Reservas. I pick up my
Oh
coffee in the
yeah.
morning, and that's where I shared. It's like your network is your net worth, and who it is that you surround yourself with will definitely you know build you up. Or sometimes there's some people there that might bring you down. So it just all depends. You really need to check on that. And we've got a shout out, Brenda Castillo. Thank you so much for
Brenda
joining us on the
Castillo,
show.
that's a perfect example right there about networking, man. Brenda Castillo, she owns a jiu-jitsu school, Enzo Jiu-Jitsu, which is where I
Ah,
train.
yeah.
And I was referred to her through a mutual friend,
Mhm.
and she became one of my clients because of this particular person. And now she's one of my great friends and a professor in the jiu-jitsu class. So
Oh,
that
wow.
right there is a true testament to networking right there.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Brenda Castillo, for joining us here from Enzo Jiu Jitsu here in the RGV. And we've got Seams Fuentes. Yes, love this.
It
So thank you so
seems
much
that's my
for joining
homegirl right
us.
there.
All right. So
Yeah,
thank you so
she
much for showing some
runs
support.
Seems runs Mujer RGB that I was mentioning earlier. Yeah, she's awesome as well. I learned so much from her. I meet so many great people through her. Honestly, a lot of the income I was able to make this summer when the pandemic hit was because of people I had met through her. You know what I mean? So networking, you got to get on that for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, Ismael, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you being here. And I'm glad that I finally got you on a show, my podcast, and, we were able to do some work together and, hear your story as you continue to grow. And for any of you watching or rewatching this later on, please make sure you follow Ismael on his YouTube. Just look for Life Through Lens. Subscribe to his channel, please. Check out all the episodes he does. Great story, and I recommend you definitely start with that first video. At least one of the videos that I liked is when he starts,
Cool.
his when he quits his job. That one was pretty cool. And then from then on, he's got some great content that he continues to build up. And look at this as we continue. You're getting some. Got here. Hey, Carlos, don't worry. Thank you so much for joining us and showing some support for Ismael. And this is what the RGV is all about. Thank you so much, Angel Valdez. This was fun to watch. So make sure you
Shout
share
out
it
to
with all
Uncle.
your friends and everything. And again, guys, Ismael, if you like those intros that I have now, it's all because of the creative mind that Ismael has, and we are definitely showcasing some of the beautiful things that we have here in the RGV. Ismael does a great job at showcasing some of the local talent, some of the local, as far as coffee shops, as restaurants, and things of that sort. Check him out. He's full of passion, full of energy. And if you're here local in the RGV, reach out to him. If you need something done, some a video or things of that sort, this guy definitely has an eye for that. So thank you so much
Appreciate it.
for
Appreciate it.
joining us. Thank you, Abbott. Thank you so much for joining us from all the way from the UK and making it out here. Really means a lot to me, and Ismael too as
Thank
well.
you,
That
Abbott.
we've got people from across, the pond, they say, that are here joining us. Inspirational show. Thank you so much. Yes, the talent sharing talent makes the world go around. Seems, yeah, I agree with you, Seem. So, if you'd like to be a guest, and this is for everybody, if you'd like to be a guest and share your story, you can go ahead and do so. And I'm going to drop that link here in the chat. You can visit us at our page at myedtech.life. Visit us on our website. There's a contact me place there that you can shoot me an email. If you want to share your story, here's a platform where you can share your story, that's inspirational to others, and just that power of connections. Because, hey, like I've always said, Maya Tech Life is all about, well, normally it's connecting educators one show at a time, but I think now it's connecting educators, connecting creatives, connecting everybody one show at a time.
That's
So,
awesome.
Ismael, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And yes, anytime. And you're now part of the Maya Tech family, Ismael. So at any time, if you ever are working on a project, or if you ever want to share something, you're always welcome to come back to the show and share anything. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate
All
that.
right, guys. For those of you watching, thank you so much, my friends. And don't forget, until next time, stay techie.